Mike, you're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salado Makwidiri. The time is 9:43 Central African Time, and we're going to be switching gears now to, I think, a very, very important conversation. Palestinian refugees who had fled the Israeli genocide in Gaza, mostly family units, young men, women who have families, who have children. There's a bit of good news regarding this story, and it's one that we'll be unpacking in a bit, and it's one that I think will resonate with a lot of South Africans because the plight of the Palestinian people is one that is close to our hearts. We'll be bringing a story that I think underscores both the human cost of conflict abroad and the moral responsibility of South Africa, our nation. Around 176 Palestinian refugees fleeing the genocide in Gaza arrived here in South Africa, mostly mothers, fathers, and children, as I mentioned, and they arrived, as you would expect, traumatized, malnourished, and stripped of their belongings by Israeli officials leaving Gaza. Toiletries, clothing, and medicine, all of it, everything that they've owned is lost and has been described as an calculated act of deprivation because, well, the IDF and the Israeli government just seems to thrive on humiliation. Apart from genocide and massacring millions and millions of people and children, humiliation is, I think, one of the, yeah. But yeah, in response to this, civil society organizations mobilized swiftly, providing medical care, shelter, food, clothing, legal assistance, and other critical support. And ordinary South Africans showed this true spirit of Ubuntu, acting to protect the vulnerable in the face of what many are calling an orchestrated act of displacement. And today we'll be unpacking exactly that, the legal, humanitarian, and political dimensions of this relocation, the ongoing crisis in Gaza, and what this means for South Africa's obligations under international law and morality, essentially. And joining me to discuss all of that is our good friend Naeem Jeenah, activist, academic, and someone that we talk to a lot when it comes to these kinds of topics. Naeem, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I think we can jump right into it. If you can give our listeners a brief, detailed picture of the conditions under which these 176 Palestinian refugees arrived in South Africa and how they were treated before departure, and also what immediate needs did they present on arrival?
Yes, so it's all of the details are still somewhat unclear, and so I'll tell you what we know. And that is that this group of 176 refugees from Gaza, they applied through a website through a somewhat dubious organization and paid money for that to be able to leave Gaza. Last week, sometime, they were informed at night that the next morning they would be leaving. The next morning, when they got ready to leave, they were told that they were allowed to take only a rucksack on their backs. Got onto buses. The buses crossed into Israel. On the Israeli side, they were told that they're not allowed even the rucksacks and could only take phones, passports, and some money. And then the buses went to an Israeli airbase from where they were put onto a plane. Up to this point, they were still not told where they were going to. They were put onto a plane. The plane landed in Nairobi, where they were put into a holding room until a chartered flight was ready, and that flight brought them to OR Tambo International Airport. And here, they once they passed through immigration, of course, with Palestinian passports, they could enter without needing a visa. Once they passed through immigration, there was transport ready for them, took them to guest houses, hotels, etc., all across Johannesburg, spread out all over the place, so that they're not concentrated in one area, I guess. And they were booked into this for 7 days, and that was it. And then all communication from this organization to them stopped. I should just say that this organization There's no person, there's no human being that they've ever dealt with. It's all kind of remote. And once they arrived here and were sent to wherever they were going to be accommodated for those 7 days, a few local people found out about this, made some inquiries, tracked down a few of the families, starting with one family, another family, and tracked them down, and then realized the scale of the issue. And so a few organizations and individuals in the community came together, arranged accommodation, arranged food for those who needed that, arranged a whole session of medical checkups and medication, etc., for as many of who wanted medical assistance. That was all done last week, and there's ongoing support from this group of organizations. There's also the possibility that there might be another plane coming sometime soon, in the same kind of circumstances. So we also, the group of organizations that's involved with this, is also calling on the South African government to launch urgently an investigation into this whole thing, why it happened, how it happened, how is this organization, which is linked to the Israelis, able to relocate people in this way without even telling them where they're going, etc., and what the underlying motivation of all of this is. For now, from this side, it's a humanitarian issue and being dealt with in that way, but there are the political dimensions that the government look at.
And I would like to focus on those political dimensions. Derko specifically, do you know if they've commented on this? Are they made aware of this, and has there been a response from their end?
They haven't commented publicly on it. It would be unimaginable to think that they don't know that's what's going on. We also sent the media release to them to alert them that this is what's being done, etc. I would expect that if DIRCO were considering this matter seriously, and I'm pretty sure that they would, that they won't immediately necessarily issue a media release or say anything publicly until they have their ducks in a row. So if they don't respond to our media statement, I don't think it's necessarily concerning if they don't respond immediately. But we will keep an eye to see if we can get some response from them regarding our call for an investigation.
Just lastly, before I let you go, for our listeners, who are currently listening to the story right now, that'd like to assist in any shape or form, how can they go about it? Is there still, needs that need to be met and gaps that need to be filled?
That need to be met, and the best way to do that is to call Sarah, whose name is on the media release. And she'll direct people to the correct person. There's a whole lot of organizations involved, so depending on what people want to contribute, there's different ways of going about it. And Sarah is best placed to kind of coordinate all of that.
Well, there you go. Continue there for now. Thank you so much for those insights. Really, really appreciate it.
Shukran.
There you go. And yeah, for further information, if you'd like to assist, you can contact Sarah Oosthuizen on 084 287 1995. That's 084 287 1995. And I should be able to be better placed to, give a bit of insight on what are some of the immediate needs that these 176 refugees from Palestine are going to be needing at this current moment. Going to take a quick break. News and views continues after this.